Welcome to Tales from the Pillow, a calm place for unsettling stories. If you enjoy the quiet dread before sleep, subscribe and let the stories keep you company in the dark. This happened in 2019 when I was renting a flat just outside of York in a little town called Fulford. I was 28, living alone for the first time after a long-term relationship ended and trying to keep my life together while working night shifts at a hotel front desk. The flat was one of those narrow, old terrace conversions, creaky stairs, paper-thin walls, and a hallway that stretched unusually long for such a small place. I'd always thought something about the hallway was off, the way it bent slightly like it didn't want to be straight, the way the light bulb at the end would flicker even after I replaced it twice. I'd come home most mornings around 6 a.m. after a full night of dealing with drunk tourists and broken radiators, too exhausted to care about much. But over time, I started to notice something strange. It began with footsteps. Every night, well, early morning, really, around 3:12 a.m., I'd wake up to the sound of someone walking down the hallway. Slow, deliberate steps, just past my bedroom door, never stopping, never hurried. At first, I chalked it up to the neighbors. Old buildings carry sound, but I live in a middle flat. There's no hallway directly above or below me, and I never heard a door open or close, just walking. After the third week, I started checking the hallway as soon as I heard it. I'd get up, open the door, flick the light on. Nothing. Just the cold air and the silence that follows something important leaving the room. I stopped sleeping properly. I'd stay up late, phone in hand, waiting to catch the sound. It always came at the same time, 3:12. Not a minute earlier or later. Once, I left my phone recording overnight, pointed toward the door. I listened to it the next morning with a pit in my stomach. I heard myself snoring. Then I heard the footsteps, clear as anything. Slow, uneven, and right after, a quiet tap on my bedroom door. I didn't remember hearing the tap in real time, but there it was on the recording. I told a few people at work, got the usual mix of laughter and polite concern. My friend Sophie said I was just overworked. Sleep deprivation can do weird stuff to your brain, she said. I agreed, until the night I saw it. It was just a glimpse, out of the corner of my eye, while brushing my teeth. The mirror in the hallway reflected the entire corridor behind me. I'd done this routine 100 times, but this night I saw someone, a man, tall, thin, dressed in dark clothes, standing completely still at the very end of the hallway. I spun around, no one. When I turned back, the mirror was empty. From that point, things escalated. Lights flickered even when I switched bulbs. My front door would be unlocked some mornings, even though I triple-checked it before bed. The hallway started to feel inhabited. Not haunted exactly, just occupied. One night, I gathered the nerve to walk the hallway at 3:12 a.m., phone flashlight in hand. As soon as I stepped out, I felt it, like walking into a room someone had just left, still warm with their presence. I whispered, "Hello?" No reply, but I swear the shadows moved, just slightly, at the end of the hall. The breaking point came one night in December. It was freezing outside. I had just come home from a brutal shift, made a cup of tea, and sat down on my bed when I felt it. Something was watching me, not from the window, from inside. I turned toward the door, and there he was, clearer than ever. A man standing in the hallway just outside my room. No face, just a smooth, pale surface like stretched skin. He didn't move, didn't breathe, just stood, impossibly still. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, my body locked up completely. Then, slowly, he raised one hand and pointed at me. That's when everything went black. I woke up face down on the carpet, heart pounding so loud I thought it was coming from the walls. My clock read 3:34 a.m. My tea was spilled. My bedroom door was wide open. I never sleepwalk, and I've never passed out like that before or since. I packed a bag that morning and stayed at Sophie's place for 2 nights. I told her everything. She believed me, or at least, she believed that I believed it. But neither of us had any real explanation. I went back to the flat only during the day. I'd go in, grab clothes, feed the radiator coins, check my post, but I wouldn't sleep there, not after that night. Still, something about that place clung to me. I'd dream of that hallway no matter where I slept, always dim, always cold, always with him, standing there, just watching. After New Year's, I gave notice and moved out. The landlord didn't ask questions, and I didn't offer any. The next tenant moved in 2 weeks later. I thought about warning them, but what would I even say? Hey, your new flat might be haunted by a faceless man who walks the hallway at 3 a.m. No one wants to hear that from a stranger. For a while, I managed to put it behind me, but about 8 months later, I was scrolling through Reddit late one night and saw a post in a paranormal thread. The title read, "Anyone else live in Fulford and hear footsteps in the hallway at night?" My blood ran cold. I clicked it. The post was from a woman who had just moved into a flat near the center of town, same neighborhood as mine. She mentioned the hallway was weirdly long and that she kept waking up at exactly 3:12 a.m. to the sound of walking outside her room. No footsteps in the stairwell, just inside of the hallway, her hallway. I messaged her. I told her everything. She replied once, asking which flat I'd lived in. I answered. She never replied again. So I don't know if she still lives there, or if she even could. All I know is this: something walks that hallway. It doesn't matter who lives there. It doesn't soar. It watches. And if you see it, if it ever turns and faces you, don't let it point, because when it points, something changes and you won't be the same again. I used to think it was just sleep paralysis. When I was a kid growing up in my parents' old house in Suffolk, just outside Woodbridge, I'd sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, frozen. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe right. I could see my bedroom perfectly, dimly lit from the street lamp outside. But I couldn't sit up, couldn't scream, couldn't do anything. I remember lying there, heart slamming against my chest, staring at the door while something shifted in the shadows. Always in the corner, always just watching. Sometimes it would lean forward and sometimes it felt like it was right beside the bed. But it never spoke, never moved closer. Eventually, I'd blink, and it would be morning. My parents took me to a doctor. He said it was sleep paralysis. Harmless, they said. It's just the brain waking up before the body does. And like most kids do, I believed them. Eventually, the episode stopped. I moved out at 18 and didn't think about it again for over a decade. But last year, after my parents passed away 6 months apart, my mom from cancer, my dad from a heart attack, I inherited the house. It felt strange being back. Everything was smaller than I remembered. But the air felt exactly the same, still and heavy, like it hadn't moved in years. At first, I chalked it up to grief. Too many memories in every corner, but then, 3 nights after moving in, it happened again. I woke up flat on my back, unable to move. My eyes were wide open and I could see everything. The same ceiling, the same wardrobe, the same outline of the door. But my arms were numb. My chest wouldn't rise. And then I saw it. In the corner, right beside the old desk, stood the figure, exactly like before, still, watching. Only this time, it moved. It took a full step toward me, deliberate, slow, no sound, no breathing. It was tall, its head nearly touched the ceiling, and it had no features, just blackness where the face should be, not a shadow, but something darker than shadow, a shape absorbing the light around it. I tried to scream, nothing came out. I tried to blink, to snap myself out of it. Nothing worked. Then it leaned forward, so close I could feel the cold against my skin. It whispered, not a sound exactly, but a vibration in my head, like words spoken directly into my brain. You let me in. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was on the floor, drenched in sweat, my sheets twisted around my legs. For the rest of that day, I walked around the house in a daze, checking corners, mirrors, windows. I don't know what I expected to see, but I couldn't shake the sense that I wasn't alone anymore. The second episode came 4 nights later. Same time, same sensation, but this time I'd left the hall light on, and through the crack under the door, I saw a shadow pass by, slow, pacing. The figure wasn't in my room, it was outside. Walking the hallway back and forth, I could hear the floorboards creak softly, back and forth, then silence. The doorknob turned, I couldn't breathe. I started sleeping on the couch with all the lights on. I called my GP, told him I was having sleep paralysis again. He recommended meditation, stress reduction. Try not to overthink it. But I wasn't overthinking it. Something was in that house. I tried staying with friends. The episode stopped when I left, but every time I returned, even for just a night, they started again. I set up cameras, every room, motion sensors. Nothing ever triggered, nothing was ever caught. Except one night, the hallway camera glitched at exactly 3:11 a.m., just static for 15 seconds. When it came back, the living room door was slightly open. I checked that door 3 times before bed. The last straw came 2 weeks ago. I was asleep in the guest room, trying a different bed. I woke to the sound of whispering. Dozens of voices, male, female, some high, others low, all overlapping. It wasn't English, it wasn't any language I knew, just constant murmuring all around me. And there, at the foot of the bed, stood the figure. But now, it wasn't alone. There were others behind it, shapes, slightly smaller, all staring, all swaying, like they were waiting for something. And then, in perfect unison, they whispered, "Come back." That's when I ran. I haven't been back since. I stay in a rented flat now, 2 towns over. I haven't had an episode since the night I left. I spoke with a local historian who said the house was built over an old coaching inn site from the 1700s. There were rumors of people disappearing, especially children, but no records, just talk. I don't know what's in that house. Maybe it started as sleep paralysis. Maybe I was just vulnerable enough to notice something others ignore. All I know is, it waited for me, and the moment I moved back in, it remembered. I've never been one to believe in ghosts. I'm not religious, I don't mess with Ouija boards. I like evidence, logic, I work in IT. So when I say that something happened to me last winter that I still can't explain, something that still makes me keep a light on every night, I don't say it lightly. It started with a radio. I'd just moved into a small semi-detached house outside Kendal in Cumbria. It was built in the 60s, nothing fancy but clean and quiet. I was renting it cheap through a family friend after the last tenant passed away. Heart failure, I think. The attic was full of random junk. Old boxes, yellowed newspapers, tax records from the 80s, and one battered wooden AM radio. I kept it because it looked cool, vintage, probably mid-century. Heavy with brass dials and fabric covering the speaker. I put it on a shelf in the living room. It didn't work, or so I thought. One night, maybe 2 weeks after I'd moved in, I was up late watching TV. Around 2:00 a.m., I heard a crackling sound, like static. I paused the show, it was the radio. Except, I hadn't plugged it in. The dial glowed faintly green. Static buzzed softly from the speaker. Then I heard something else. A voice, not talking, whispering. Too faint to make out words, but clearly human. Multiple voices overlapping like a crowd murmuring far away. I stood there listening for what felt like 5 minutes. Then, Just as suddenly as it started, the radio clicked off. Dead again. I checked the plug. Nothing in the socket. No batteries. I even opened the back. Just old dust and a spider. No power source at all. I convinced myself it was interference. Maybe some weird atmospheric thing. Old electronics do strange things, right? But the next night, at exactly 2:00 a.m., it happened again. This time, the whispers were louder. They didn't make sense, like fragments of different conversations, layered over each other. I heard crying, a child's voice, someone humming. The worst part? I swear I heard a creak, like the sound my hallway floor makes when I walk across it. But I was alone. I hadn't moved. After that, it became a pattern. Every night at 2:00 a.m., the radio would turn on, and every night the voices got clearer. I started recording it. Most nights, the audio was too static-filled to be useful, but twice, I caught something that still makes my skin crawl when I listen back. The first time I heard a woman's voice say, plain as day, he's in the kitchen. At that moment, I was sitting on the sofa, across from the kitchen door. The second time was worse. I heard what sounded like my own voice whisper, he knows. That night, I unplugged the radio, even though it wasn't plugged in, wrapped it in a towel, and shoved it in the back of the wardrobe. At 2 a.m., I woke up. The static was louder than ever. I opened the wardrobe door. The towel was gone. The radio was sitting there, uncovered, dials glowing. I started leaving the house at night, sleeping in my car at friends' places, but somehow it still followed me. Once I heard static in my phone speaker around 2 a.m., even though my phone was off. Another time my laptop turned itself on and displayed nothing but white text. Tune in. I had a dream, at least I think it was a dream, where I was back in the house, walking barefoot down the hallway. The radio was at the end, on the floor, playing whispering voices. As I got closer, the words became clearer. They were describing me. He's wearing gray, he's sweating, he's scared. I woke up gasping. I was wearing gray, and I was sweating. The final night, I stayed in the house, determined to face whatever it was. At 1:59 a.m., I sat in the living room, staring at the blank radio. At 2 a.m., it clicked on. This time, the static faded quickly. A single voice came through, low, male, calm. Are you listening now? I couldn't breathe. Then, you left the door open. At that exact moment, I heard it. A knock from inside the house. Not the front door, the hallway. 3 soft knocks. I didn't move. I couldn't. The radio clicked off. Silence. I moved out the next day. I left the radio on the curb, watched the bin men take it away. 2 nights later, at 2 a.m., my phone turned on by itself. A voice whispered through the speaker, "We're still tuned in."